Welcome to Grandma's Tales audiobook. Welcome, my little ones, and welcome to you, dear parents, searching for a moment of quiet peace at the end of a long, busy day. Wrap yourselves warm in your blankets. Let your pillows hold you softly, just like a nest. Today, we have a beautiful bedtime story for toddlers and older children alike. It is a story about a family, about little brothers and sisters, and how the greatest magic in the world is the way we take care of each other when we are small. Close your eyes now. Let the deep breath come. We are going to a place where the air smells of sweet clover and fresh rain. Have you ever wondered what the little rabbits whisper to one another when the stars first appear in the sky? Today, the little Flopsy Bunnies found themselves in a very large, quiet garden, far away from home. They discovered something unexpected beneath the broad green leaves, a secret that taught them how strong they could be when they held each other's paws. This story will lead us to the quietest place in the world, where sleep comes easily and where you are always safe because your family is right beside you. Long ago, in a deep, warm burrow beneath the roots of an ancient willow tree, lived a family of rabbits. The mother was named Flopsy, and she was the kindest mother a little bunny could ever wish for. Her children were many, and they were very small. They were known as the Flopsy Bunnies. They had tiny pink noses that twitched whenever they smelled sweet clover, and long, soft ears that drooped over their eyes when they began to feel drowsy. The little bunnies were a true family. There was tiny Barnaby, Cottontail, Daisy, and little Pip, who was never more than 2 hops away from his siblings. Because their home was small, they learned to look after one another. If Barnaby lost his way in the tall grass, Daisy would call out to him with a gentle thump of her foot. If Pip felt a chill from the morning dew, Cottontail would sit close to him, sharing the warmth of her soft fur. It was a beautiful way to live. But one morning, their pantry was completely empty. There were no sweet clover leaves, no dried dandelion roots, and not even a single leaf of lettuce for the children's breakfast. Their father, old Benjamin, was a very good rabbit, but he was a bit forgetful. "Do not worry, my little darlings," Mother Flopsy said, her voice smoothing away their tiny worries. "The world is wide, and there is always enough food for those who look together. Your father and I will go to the meadow to find fresh grass, but you must stay close to the hedge, look after one another, and never go beyond the old stone wall." The little Flopsy Bunnies promised to be good. They stepped out of the warm burrow, holding paws 2 by 2. The morning sun was warm, kissing the tops of their ears. They walked slowly along the edge of the great green hedge, where the wild roses grew. But as the sun climbed higher, the air became heavy and warm. The bunnies grew tired. Their little legs felt heavy like small stones. They looked over the edge of the path and saw a great heap of green just outside the garden belonging to Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor was a very tall man with big, heavy boots that went thump, thump, thump upon the earth. But today he was nowhere to be seen. Instead, there was only a great mountain of old lawn mowings and discarded vegetables. And right at the top lay a vast pile of overgrown lettuces with broad, cool leaves. The air smelled intensely of sweet juice and sleepy summer afternoons. The little bunnies could not resist. They hopped up the soft mound of grass. Pip took a small bite of a lettuce leaf. It was wonderfully sweet. Daisy took another. Soon all the small Flopsy Bunnies were sitting in a circle, munching slowly on the cool green leaves. When a little rabbit eats a great deal of lettuce, it makes him very sleepy. The juice of the old lettuce is like a quiet lullaby poured into the tummy. One by one, their tiny pink noses stopped twitching. Barnaby's long ears drooped over his face. Cottontail leaned her head against Pip's shoulder. Pip tucked his feet beneath his warm belly and closed his eyes. Daisy lay down right in the middle, her little tail giving one last lazy twitch before she fell fast asleep. They were a bundle of soft, breathing fur, tucked away in the warm afternoon sun. But while they slept, the sun moved slowly across the blue sky, casting long, cool shadows from the garden wall. The shadows grew longer across the grass. Then, from far across the garden, came a sound. It was the sound of heavy boots walking upon the gravel path. Mr. McGregor was coming, carrying a large, empty sack made of rough brown burlap. Mr. McGregor walked closer, bringing his big boots nearer to the sleeping rabbits. The bunnies were so deeply asleep that they did not hear him. He stopped right before the heap and looked down through his spectacles. "Aha," he muttered, his voice like the scraping of dry stones. "What do we have here? 6 little rabbits, all fat and sleepy on my lettuce." He reached down with his big, rough hands. One by one, very gently so as not to wake them, he lifted the sleeping Flopsy Bunnies by their soft ears and dropped them into the large brown burlap sack. The inside of the sack was dark. It smelled of old earth and dry string. The sudden movement finally woke little Pip. He blinked his eyes in the darkness. He felt the rough fibre of the sack against his nose. He tried to move his leg, but he bumped into something soft. "Daisy? Barnaby?" Pip whispered, his voice trembling just a tiny bit. "I am here," whispered Daisy, her nose touching his ear in the dark. "And I am here too," muttered Barnaby, reaching out with a small soft paw. In the darkness of the sack, fear tried to enter their small hearts. They could hear Mr. McGregor's hands tying the string at the top with a piece of heavy twine. They knew they were far from home. They knew their mother and father were not there to lift the heavy sack. But then, little Pip remembered what Mother Flopsy always said. When you are together, you are never truly lost. Hold my paw, Pip whispered. Cottontail reached through the dark and found Pip's small, warm paw. She squeezed it gently. Then she reached out and found Barnaby. Barnaby found Daisy. Within a few moments, all 6 little Flopsy Bunnies had formed a complete circle, holding on to one another tightly. As soon as their paws connected, the fear began to melt away, replaced by a quiet, steady bravery. Their hearts, beating together, became one strong heart. They did not cry. They remained perfectly still, listening, waiting, and supporting each other with their steady warmth. Outside the sack, someone else was watching. Living in the stone wall was a tiny, beautiful wood mouse named Mrs. Tittlemouse. She had bright black bead eyes and a long, elegant tail. She had often seen the Flopsy Bunnies playing safely near the hedge and knew she had to help them quickly. She scurried out from the wall, her tiny feet making no more sound than a falling leaf. She ran up the side of the brown burlap sack. Inside, the bunnies felt the tiny scratch of her claws against the cloth. "Hush!" a tiny voice squeaked from the top of the sack. "Do not make a sound, little rabbits. It is I, Mrs. Tittlemouse. I am going to help you, but you must help me too." Pip looked up toward the small knot of light at the top. "What should we do?" he whispered back. "I am going to gnaw through the heavy string," Mrs. Tittlemouse said. "But the knot is very tight. From the inside, you must push upward together, right toward the knot." The bunnies did not hesitate. They worked as one single family. Daisy and Barnaby put their backs against the bottom of the sack to keep it steady. Pip and Cottontail lifted their small shoulders, pushing upward together. "1, 2, push," Pip whispered. They pushed with all their small might, not for themselves, but for each other. Every time they pushed, the string loosened just a fraction, allowing Mrs. Tittlemouse's sharp little teeth to bite deeper into the fibres. The heavy twine gave way. The top of the sack fell open, and a beautiful golden ray of the setting sun poured into the dark space. The bunnies blinked, their hearts leaping with joy. One by one, helping each other up, they climbed out of the sack. Within a minute, they were all standing on the soft green grass, free and safe. But the story was not yet finished. Mr. McGregor's heavy steps could be heard returning from the tool shed. He was coming back with his spade. "We must not leave the sack empty," whispered the clever Daisy. "If he sees it flat, he will look for us immediately." "Look," Barnaby said, pointing his nose toward the bottom of the heap. There lay several very old, very large marrows. Vegetables that had grown so big they were completely soft and useless. Working together, moving like a little line of ants, The bunnies rolled the heavy, rotten marrows across the grass. They stuffed the big, soft vegetables right into the bottom of the burlap sack. They filled it until it looked exactly as full as it had been when the 6 little rabbits were inside. Mrs. Tittlemouse, using her clever paws, pulled the pieces of string back around the top, making it look as though the knot were still perfectly tied. "Now, run!" she whispered, scurrying back into her safe hole in the stone wall. The Flopsy Bunnies did not run wildly. They held paws again, forming their secure little line, and slipped quietly under the safety of the great green hedge. They hid in the deep, cool shadows of the bushes, their little hearts beating quietly, watching. Mr. McGregor returned. He picked up the sack by the top. Because the marrows were very heavy, he smiled a wide, toothless smile. "Ah, heavy little things," he chuckled to himself, completely unaware of the trick. He carried the sack away toward his house, his big boots fading into the distance. The sun was now setting completely, painting the sky in beautiful shades of deep amber and quiet violet. From the shadow of the hedge, 2 tall, familiar figures appeared. It was Mother Flopsy and Father Benjamin, their baskets filled with the finest, sweetest grass from the meadow. When the little bunnies saw their mother, they simply ran to her, a joyful wave of soft fur wrapping themselves around her warm legs. "My darlings," Mother Flopsy whispered, kissing each tiny pink nose. "You look very tired. Have you been good?" "We were together, Mother," Pip said softly, leaning his head against her soft side. "We held paws, and we looked after one another the whole day." Mother Flopsy smiled, her deep, dark eyes full of pride and endless love. She led them back along the quiet path, through the cooling twilight, right to the entrance of the willow burrow. Inside the burrow, it was wonderfully warm. Father Benjamin spread the fresh, sweet grass across the wooden table, and they all ate a quiet, peaceful supper together. There was no loudness, no hurry, just the gentle sound of chewing and the soft, comforted sighs of a family that was whole. After supper, Mother Flopsy prepared the great bed of down and wool in the centre of the burrow. The little Flopsy bunnies climbed in, one by one. But they did not scatter. They curled up into a beautiful, soft circle of love. Pip tucked his nose under Barnaby's ear. Cottontail rested her chin on Daisy's back. They were so close that when one took a deep, slow breath, they all felt the gentle rise and fall of the blanket. They knew that no matter how big the garden was, no matter how tall the walls, or how heavy the boots of the world might be, they would always be safe. Because they had each other. Because a family that holds paws in the dark will always find the light together. The little noses stopped twitching. The long ears became completely still. The breathing of the 6 little rabbits became slow, regular, and deep, filling the warm burrow with the sweetest sound of sleep. The stars outside shone bright and steady, watching over the little family, keeping them safe until the morning sun returned. The story is finished now, my sweet ones. The little rabbits are asleep, warm and safe in their deep burrow. It is time for your eyes to close too. Let your mind be as quiet as the summer garden under the stars. Feel the warmth of your own bed and know that you are loved, just like the little Flopsy Bunnies. For more beautiful audiobooks for preschoolers or 3-year-olds to help them drift into sweet dreams, please stay on our channel, Grandma's Tales Audiobook. Sleep well, little darlings. Good night and gentle dreams.